What is going on, gang? Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're going to be taking a look at the NFL Sunday slate for Week 5. Can't believe I'm saying that. We're already in Week 5, almost a third of the way through the NFL season. Feels like it always takes forever for it to get here, and then it finally arrives, and then it goes by so darn quick. But we're going to get into some of the props that kind of caught my eye on my initial research. Again, this is not final research. This is just kind of getting you hopefully on the right track, and I do recommend you always do additional research before locking in any entry. So I want to put that out there. It's fair warning. I try to give you the pros and the cons, the pluses and the minuses with all these different props. So we're going to take a look at some of the ones that stood out to me. Now, if you don't play on PrizePicks yet, it's a great time to sign up because they're doing a 100% instant deposit match. All you do, go to PrizePicks.com, use promo code Curry. They're going to double your first deposit all the way up to $100. So if you want to max this deal out, you can by putting in $100. They're going to double it up and give you $200 to carry you through the NFL season. So I'll leave links down in the description below so you can go sign up on PrizePicks because it's my new favorite way to play daily fantasy sports. Also, if you want to sign up on Patreon to help support my work, I am over on Patreon. Now, for $20 a month, not only do you support me as a content creator, but you also get access to a whole community of people who are playing various sports, not just NFL. We got NBA around the corner. We got WNBA going. We've also got CSGO and all these other sports that PrizePicks offers. We're talking about them in the exclusive private Discord channel, so you get access to that. Plus, I put out spreadsheets, helpful data and information to hopefully cut back on some of your research time. So you can support me over on Patreon if you'd like to do that. I'll also leave a link down in the description to that. Now, all the props in this video have been researched and powered by the Blitz by Derek Carty. It is my favorite predictive NFL tool out there. He offers a number of different helpful things here. Not only do you get great projections, you also get injury reports, game level factors. So if you're trying to game script a game, how's it going to go? Is it going to be run heavy, pass heavy? Is it going to be neutral? Well, these game level factors will help with that. Plus, they provide some really good tools here for tournaments. If you play on some of the salary cap sites like DK or FD, you get access to all that. Plus, he does an exclusive Blitz show every week with a number of different Roto Grinders personalities. So definitely check out the Blitz by Derek Carty. Once again, link down in the description below. And finally, my new favorite prop research tool is probably going to be this one. It's Props.cash. They're about to start their NBA season, so they're offering a full NBA season pass for just $99.99. Well worth it. If you ask me, this site saves me so much time. It puts all the helpful, useful information into one website so you can kind of go and quickly and easily and efficiently do all of your props-based research. So definitely check out props.cash. Again, link down in the description. Everything will be linked in that single link tree link down in the description of today's video. So let's go ahead and get into it. Now that all of that promo stuff's out of the way, we've got a number of different props that kind of caught my eye. Now, PrizePicks, they offer passing yards, rushing yards, receiving yards, receptions, passing touchdowns, just general anytime touchdowns, rushing touchdowns, receiving touchdowns, pass completions, and interceptions. So, lots of different ways to play. We're not going to be talking about passing yards because I didn't really see any that caught my eye that looked particularly strong. We're going to just skip right over that and go to rushing yards. And the first rushing yard prop that I saw that kind of looked interesting to me was going to be Austin Ekeler, who's been absolutely crushing it. He's at 50.5 rushing yards over on PrizePicks. They take on the Cleveland Browns, 4:05 p.m. Eastern Time. Austin Ekeler at 50.5 yards. I've got him projected, according to the Blitz, at 55.5 rushing yards. That gives us about a 4% edge. So not a super huge edge here, but 55.5 versus 50.5, you're talking about 5-yard difference. Not only that, but according to Props.cash, he's hit this prop, covered this prop in his first 4 games to start the season. Obviously, I don't have to tell you, that's 100% hit rate. So you got to love the consistency from Austin Ekeler. In this one, he's averaging about 70.7 rushing yards per game. So let's dig a little deeper, go a little bit further here. We're going to go to a free site, which is pro-football-reference.com. So profootballreference.com. And what we can do here, we've got the defense versus running back stats per game pulled up. And we're going to scroll down, find the Cleveland Browns, and see how well they do against the run, how many yards they're allowing to opposing running backs. So we got to kind of go down the list here. You can see that they allow just 51.5 rushing yards per game to opposing running backs. So the big thing is going to be, do the Chargers go with a more run-heavy or pass-happy approach? Or B, does this game stay close enough to where Austin Ekeler can get enough touches, enough carries? Because if he does get enough carries, I do believe that he's talented enough to go over his rushing prop of 50.5 yards. So although the defense versus running back position here looks a little bit tough on paper with Cleveland versus Austin Ekeler, I still feel pretty confident because he's faced some tough defenses before that he could still exceed 50.5 rushing yards in this one. So that's one prop that caught my eye. Let's move on to the next one, which is going to be an under prop, or what looks like on the surface at first glance an under prop. And I'm talking about running back Damien Harris of the New England Patriots. He's at 71.5 rushing yards. So if we could find him in the list here, it might be easier if I just do a little search. There he is, 71.5 rushing yards. And if you want to search this board on PrizePicks more easily and you're on a PC or Mac, Control F, and then you could just type in the name of the player you're looking for. Anyway, Damien Harris at 71.5 rushing yards. I've got him projected, according to the Blitz, at 68 rushing yards, which would put him under. He's only hit this or covered this line in 1 out of his last 4 games, according to props.cash. So that's just a 25% hit rate here. And we know how New England is. They're notorious for mixing it up with their running backs. You probably see a little bit of Brandon Bolden sprinkled in. I know James White's out for the season, but they may mix in some other running backs as well. Now, this matchup here against the Houston Texans is a good one for Damien Harris. We will slide back over to ProFootballReference.com, and you can see that Houston's giving up 114 rushing yards per game. And the game script kind of looks like one where New England is a favorite. They could get out to a lead, and they could just turn things over to a run-happy approach. So if you think that's the case, then maybe Damien Harris going under 71.5 yards isn't a good look, but I'm just telling you what the projections are saying. I'm telling you that he's only hit this 1 out of his first 4 games, and he's averaging about 43 rushing yards per game, guys. So something to consider, something to definitely think about. There's pros and cons to this prop for sure. So let's move on to the next prop, and this is going to be, let's say, a 2-for-1 special. We're talking about Cordarrelle Patterson and Mike Davis. So let's go ahead and type in Patterson's name here. You've got Patterson at 20.5 rushing yards, and you've got Mike Davis at 40.5 rushing yards. Now, according to the Blitz, both of these guys have a great chance, a strong opportunity to go over. Cordarrelle Patterson is at 20.5 on PrizePicks, but I got him at 30.7 according to the Blitz, so that's over a 10-yard edge to us. Now, on top of that, he has covered this in 2 out of 4 games, so not the most consistent guy in the world, kind of a coin flip at this point, but he's averaging a nice little 29.7 yards per game average so far, so that would definitely put him over his projection of 20.5. Now, Mike Davis, 40.5, that one's a little bit maybe not as good to me as Cordarrelle Patterson. Easy for me to say. But Mike Davis is at 40.5 on PrizePicks, but I've got him at 55 rushing yards according to the Blitz. So that's quite a big edge to us, about a 30% difference there. So you love to see that. But he's only covered this in 2 out of 4 games. Of course, him and Patterson kind of split in time in that Atlanta backfield. So you never really know what's going to happen. But I will say that Atlanta is missing some of their top receivers, including Calvin Ridley. So I could see them try to maybe run the ball more. And if you like Patterson, well, I like his receiving yards too, and maybe even his fantasy points, as he's been a fantasy darling to kind of start this season out. At any rate, Mike Davis, back to him, he's averaging at about 37.7 rushing yards per game. So it's not all sunshine here on this Mike Davis prop. Let's go take a look at how well the New York Jets do against the run. And you can kind of see why I'm a bit bullish on both of these Atlanta running backs. They're giving up 111.8, almost 112 rushing yards per game to opposing running backs. So things are looking pretty good here for both of these Atlanta running backs and their rushing yard props. Definitely something to consider, but if you're asking me which one I like more, probably Patterson in this case, the 20.5. easily a more achievable number here if these guys are in a true timeshare. So there you have it. Let's wrap it up with one other prop that's kind of off the radar. I'm talking about James Conner of the Arizona Cardinals. So to save time, we're going to do a search for Conner. He's at 33.5 rushing yards, and he low-key has been smashing this prop. I've got him projected for almost 46 rushing yards according to the Blitz. That's over a 23% advantage or edge our way, so that's definitely looking good. He's actually hit this prop in 3 out of his first 4 games, a 75% hit rate to start the season. And not to mention, he's averaging about 43 rushing yards per game, which puts him over 10 yards versus where he's at on PrizePicks right now at 33.5 rushing yards. So they're facing the San Francisco 49ers. Not exactly an easy matchup, but if we go down and look, according to ProFootballReference.com, you can see that the Niners are kind of a middle of the pack average team against the run. So averaging over 85 rushing yards per game to opposing running backs, giving up over 85 rushing yards per game. So I think this is a situation where Conner definitely could go over this prop yet again. And as long as they're continuing to give him touches like they have been, I think he's got a real shot here to possibly go over. So there you have it for my final rushing yard prop of the video. So with those out of the way, let's go ahead and move things over to the next category. And we're going to look at some of the receiving yard props over on PrizePicks. There's a handful that actually caught my eye. Let's start things off with the first one. And I'm talking about Brandon Cooks, who has been one of the more consistent wide receivers in the NFL. He's going to be facing his former team, the New England Patriots, 1 p.m. Sunday. Cooks is at 64.5 over on PrizePicks. I've got him projected, according to the Blitz, 82.6 receiving yards. That's almost 20 yards higher than where he's at on PrizePicks right now, presenting over a 25% edge in our favor. Now, he's hit this prop in 3 out of his first 4 games to start the season, 75% hit rate according to Props.Cash, and he's averaging over 92 receiving yards per game. So this is a tough matchup. Of course, we know after seeing what the New England Patriots were able to do to Tom Brady and the stout Buccaneers offense, New England's a tough defense. We know that they game plan very, very well. So let's go to Pro Football Reference here. We'll find New England and see how many receiving yards per game that they're giving up to opposing wide receivers. They're giving up about 147 receiving yards per game, which isn't a very generous number. They're actually one of the top 10 strongest defenses against opposing wide receivers in terms of receiving yards allowed. So this could be a tough matchup here for Brandon Cooks, but where Cooks shines is the fact that he's getting the volume. He's a volume guy. He's easily the #1 receiver for Houston. No, they don't have Deshaun Watson at quarterback. They've got Mills at quarterback, but if anybody's getting peppered with targets, it's going to be Brandon Cooks. So I also like his receptions. I think he's set at 5 receptions over on PrizePicks. That's another way to go. So if you don't like the receiving yards, you can consider going with the receptions over on Brandon Cooks. So 2 ways to play Brandon Cooks in this one. The other one worth mentioning is Marvin Jones of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, Marvin Jones is going to be a candidate to go under for me. He's at 66.5 receiving yards. I got him projected, according to the Blitz, at 58.6 receiving yards, putting him almost 10 yards under his prop of 66.5. One other thing worth noting is that according to Props.Cash, he's covered this in just 1 out of his first 4 games. That's just 25% hit rate, and he's averaging just about 54.5 receiving yards per game, putting him well under 66.5. So let's go look at the Tennessee Titans, who is his defensive matchup, and they take the field at 1 p.m. Eastern time on Sunday. We're going to go look at the Titans and see how well they do against opposing wide receivers in terms of yards allowed. And wouldn't you know it, they are actually the most giving in terms of receiving yards per game to opposing wide receivers. But something to consider, they've got a rookie quarterback, obviously, in Jacksonville and Trevor Lawrence. Tennessee, although they're bleeding yards through the air to opposing wide receivers, facing a rookie like Trevor Lawrence, I mean, maybe they could feast on him. Maybe Mike Vrabel and company can game plan and scheme for this team. But it's, again, sort of showing you the pros and the cons with the prop, the projections, the low hit rate for Marvin Jones in this situation. Those are the pros. And then the cons are that the Tennessee Titans are just giving up a whole ton of yards through the air. So definitely one worth considering there. One that has been super consistent for the Las Vegas Raiders is Mr. Hunter Renfrow. So Renfrow's at 44.5 receiving yards. Got him projected for almost 60 receiving yards. That's more than a 25% edge. And I like 25% edges. Now, he's hit this in 4 out of his first 4 games. That's a 100% cover rate, and he's averaging over 62 receiving yards per game to start the season, which is almost 20 yards more than his line here on PrizePicks. So 44.5 receiving yards seems achievable for Mr. Hunter Renfrow. He's been a target monster for the Las Vegas Raiders. They definitely like throwing him the ball. I took Bryan Edwards the other night at 2.5 receptions over, and Edwards could barely haul in one football. So I got NBA on the mind, but you get the point. Hunter Renfrow heavily involved here for the Vegas Raiders. So let's head back over to Pro Football Reference. We'll take a look at how many passing yards that the opposition is giving up here. And I don't think I mentioned it, but they're facing the Chicago Bears, and that game is at 4:05 p.m. Eastern time. So we go to the Bears. You can see that they are one of the most generous defenses to opposing wide receivers, giving up nearly 197 receiving yards per game. You combine that with the factor that Hunter Renfrow is so consistent, has covered this prop in all of his first 4 games, and I'm really liking this one. 100% hit rate. I mean, I'm going to ride the hot hand until it's not hot anymore. Now, another one that caught my eye is CeeDee Lamb of the Dallas Cowboys. He was at 59.5 receiving yards, and thankfully at the time of this video, he is still at 59.5 receiving yards. Now, I saw that he was on opposing or what should we say, alternate sports books for about 20 more yards than this, or 10 more yards than this, and I have him projected for a lot more. I have him projected for 80 receiving yards in this one versus the New York Giants. That game kicks off at 4:25 p.m. Anyway, huge edge here. PrizePicks definitely way too low in my opinion on CeeDee Lamb versus what I've seen on other sites. So definitely an opportunity for us to take advantage. That's about a 30% edge in our favor. And he's covered this prop in 3 out of his first 4 games to start the season, averaging about 66 receiving yards per game. So that's just enough to cover this 59.5 receiving yard prop. So let's go look at the Giants real quick on Pro Football Reference. Let's go see what they've been up to here in terms of defense. And there's the Jets. Giants are giving up about 165 receiving yards per game to wideouts. So they are about a middle of the pack defense. I think this is an opportunity where CeeDee Lamb gets back on track. He kind of had a bad game last week, but this is my favorite time to target a prop. When a guy's coming off of a bad game, I go right back to it, because typically lines makers will like bring his line down based on the previous game's performance. And that's a great opportunity for us to jump on board and take the over. So I am liking the over on CeeDee Lamb. Not a particularly tough matchup against the Giants. And I think he could definitely get it done. We know he's a deep ball threat. One play and he can, go over 59.5 receiving yards. So really liking that one. Really seeing a good edge and advantage for us over on PrizePicks. Now, the last one is in terms of receiving yards that I was looking at is Mike Gesicki. There he is, of the Miami Dolphins. They're facing the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at 1 p.m. And he's at 40.5 receiving yards, but I've got him projected for 47.5. So slight edge in our favor, about 16%. So that's not bad. He's covered this in 3 out of his first 4 games, 75% hit rate according to Props.Cash, and he's averaging about 46 receiving yards per game. He has quickly become one of the top options for Jacoby Brissett and this Miami Dolphins offense. So Mike Gesicki here at 40.5 receiving yards is looking like a good way to go. Another way that you could play him, I've seen a couple of people out there in the Twitter sphere talk about it. You could take his receptions as well. And I think in this case, at very worst, he might be a push candidate on those receptions. But I'm talking about his receiving yards today. So let's go look at the Bucs. They've been actually pretty generous against opposing tight ends. We're going to go find them here on Pro Football Reference. Tampa Bay toward the top of the list. They're averaging about 60 receiving yards per game to opposing tight ends. And Gesicki's not really like your prototypical in-line tight end, meaning he's not going to have his hand in the dirt a whole lot. A lot of times they split him out and line him up as a wide receiver. So that's pretty interesting. But you could see that the Buccaneers not really doing a great job at stopping opposing tight ends. This is one to definitely research further and keep your eye out for. So Mike Gesicki over 40.5. We've got just a few more props to talk about before we wrap things up, and the two that stand out to me happen to both be Sam Darnold props. So let's go look at them real quick. Sam Darnold under the touchdowns category. Now this one's kind of tricky. You got to consider that touchdowns can come in a variety of different ways. This is any type of touchdown really. So he could be passing for a touchdown, he could be rushing for a touchdown, and I mean, if something really crazy happens, he could even catch a touchdown and it would count toward this prop. But he's at 2.5 touchdowns, and I think that's a tad or a touch too high. I've got him combined for a 1.85 projected touchdown number according to the Blitz. So that's taking into account his passing touchdowns and his rushing touchdowns, not receiving touchdowns. If this guy catches a touchdown, well, we might be screwed. But anyway, 1.85 combined touchdowns for Sam Darnold puts him well under this 2.5 touchdown mark. Now, that's about a 30% edge in our favor. He has gone 0 for 4 in covering this 2.5 touchdown prop. That's a 0% hit rate, and he's averaging about 1 touchdown per game if props.cash serves me correct. So I like the under on Sam Darnold at 2.5 touchdowns. And he's facing the Philadelphia Eagles. Let's go take a look and see if we can get an idea how many touchdowns they're allowing per game to opposing quarterbacks. So we click the passing touchdown category. We'll start there. 2.25 passing touchdowns. Okay, that's a little worrisome. And then as far as rushing touchdowns, they're giving up 0.25 rushing touchdowns. So you kind of combine the two and you're right at 2.5 touchdowns. But I'm going to go with my guy, Derek Carty, and the Blitz and his projections. And they suggest going under on this 2.5 touchdown prop, saying that Darnold will have 2 touchdowns or less. Let's just hope he doesn't go for 3 touchdowns. Now, if you don't like that prop, I understand it could be a little dicey. Another one that we could look at, though, is passing completions for Sam Darnold. He's at 22.5. I've got him projected for 24.2. His passing completions have been money so far to start the season. Let's see if he's still at 22.5 on PrizePicks. He is. And I say let's see if he's still at this number, because PrizePicks is dynamically moving the lines in real time. So if there's something that you really, really like, a prop that you're really, really feeling, you got to jump on it. Time is money, basically, over on PrizePicks. So Darnold at 22.5 completions, I've got him projected for 24.2 on the Blitz. That's about a 7% advantage to us. But he's covered this prop in 4 out of 4 games. That's a 100% hit rate, and he's averaging almost 25 completed passes per game. So really liking the way this is looking here. So let's go back to Pro Football Reference. We'll go over to the completions category here, and you can see Philadelphia's given up about 22 completed passes to opposing quarterbacks, which would suggest that maybe we should go under on Darnold. But if you believe that the Eagles keep this game competitive and force Carolina to throw, of course, Carolina's going to be without Christian McCaffrey again. He's doubtful to play, although he's getting close. He's getting close to returning, but he's not back yet. So I think this is another game where they go pass happy, and Sam Darnold definitely can go over his 22.5 passing completions. So that's going to do it for today's video. What do you guys think? Any of these props standing out to you? Are there any that caught your eye? Drop a like on this video. Leave a comment below with your favorite prop from the video, or maybe there's one that I haven't mentioned that you're really, really, really feeling. It could help me out. It could help somebody else who watches these videos out. And plus, I'd love chopping it up with you guys down in the comment section. You guys really open my eyes to a lot of different props. So like the video, leave a comment, make sure you're subscribed, make sure notifications are turned on. Go sign up on PrizePicks, promo code Curry, 100% instant deposit match. And if you want to support my work, Patreon's the way to do that. I appreciate you guys tuning in. Thank you, thank you, thank you for all of your support. And we'll catch you in the next one, guys. Good luck on Sunday. Peace out.